Another plate crashed to the ground and shouting filled the entire house. My mother-in-law, Gemma, is at it again, being violent and driven with anger. I just went back home from the hospital to pack and fetch my husband's things. He's in the hospital right now and he was rushed there due to a severe cold. The doctor told me that he is under observation for several days, so we have no choice but to admit him to the hospital. His seizure was sudden. I just saw him lying on the floor, whimpering in pain and cold, early this morning, so I immediately ran to him and helped. It was just hours ago, and the moment that my mother-in-law knew about it, the moment she got back from her morning jog, she was so angry at me. She kept on blaming me for the condition of her son, when in fact I too was shocked because of the abrupt happenings. A few days ago, it was just a common cold he caught from work, and then several days later, it worsened and now he had a seizure. It was just me and my father-in-law Larry that rushed my husband Kurt to the hospital, and now I came home directly to collect all the necessary things needed. I could hear my mother-in-law's footsteps approaching. I braced myself because I know that she will hit me again, and she has done this many times, without my husband and father-in-law knowing. There were times when she would condemn me for being a housewife. She kept on branding me as useless and freeloader because it is only my husband that is working, but she didn't know that I am also helping with the finances inside the house by working online and remotely on a virtual company run by my family. But she kept on saying I shouldn't take pride in my lowly job because it is awful and would only feed me dirt. It hurts every time she insults me, and it is more painful to hear it from someone you must respect, who in turn can't respect you. Her footsteps came to a close. She banged the door open and went straight to me and grabbed my hair. She pushed me to the ground and looked at me full of anger. "If only you had a job. Kurt wouldn't be stuck in this blue-collar work. It's your fault. He is in this critical condition." I tried to let off her grip because it is hurting me so much. "Gemma, you can't blame me for Kurt's job or his condition. We made decisions together, always considering what was best for our family," she scoffed, dismissing my words with a wave of her hand as she let go of me. "Don't try to justify yourself. Your laziness and lack of ambition have put Kurt in this mess. If only he had married someone more successful, he wouldn't be suffering like this." My eyes started to well up with tears. These words are the exact words that trigger me. She knew how to hit me right into my heart, and it hurts. She doesn't even know everything. But despite her verbal and physical abuses, I stood tall before her, refusing to be broken. Success isn't measured solely by a job or money. Kurt and I built our life together based on love, support, and shared dreams. His blue-collar work was our way of providing for our future, and it had nothing to do with my contributions. Enough with your sympathetic speech, as if I care. You're nothing but a worthless woman. You may think you're strong, but your lack of ambition will catch up to you. My son deserves better." She came near me and grabbed my chin, her grip bearing down to my skin. "You remember this, dumb girl. If something bad will happen to my son, I will blame you for everything." She dragged my face to the ground and left me there. What have I done to deserve all of this? My husband and I were so happy back then before she decided to move in with us with her husband, my father-in-law. The two of us were content living in a healthy environment, and the division of labor was never an issue to us, not until my mother-in-law kept on bringing up that topic. I wanted to cry and pause for a moment, but I remembered that my husband needs me, so with a hurting body, I stood up and continued to pack. I could say that the weight of my husband's critical condition due to his sudden attack bore down on me with an unrelenting force. After that incident, I decided to leave it behind me. I want to focus all my attention and energy on my husband and his recovery alone. I just think that my mother-in-law did it out of frustration and concern for her son. I chose to be the bigger person because I couldn't afford another family argument. As I was packing the clothes, Diana, Kurt's teenage cousin who happens to live with us because she is now an orphan, came to our room and bought me a glass of water. I heard everything, Ria. I am so sorry. I don't know what to do. I hope everything will be better soon. She handed me the water and I drank it. Thank you, Diana. She held my hand tightly and looked straight into my eyes. If you need anything, don't hesitate to ask. I am more than happy to help. After that, I went back straight to the hospital. The news of his diagnosis welcomed me. The doctor told me that my husband had epilepsy. As soon as I heard it, it felt like my world collapsed upon me. But I still chose to be strong for my husband. Every day was a battle, not just against the illness that ravaged his body, but also against the blame and mistreatment heaped upon me by my mother-in-law. Her misguided anger and resentment sought a target, and I became the unfortunate recipient of her accusations. In her eyes, I was to blame for my husband's suffering. She believed I had failed to prevent his illness, as if it were within my power to control such matters. She kept on telling me that if I were not too lazy to work, my husband would be well. I want to talk back to her and tell her that my husband worked double shifts the moment she forced my husband to let her live with us, and she even dragged my father-in-law with her. She wants her son to pay for everything that she wants, her shopping, leisure time, and even her expensive gym membership. She torments me for everything, and every time she tells me that I am at fault, I do feel guilty. Her words cut deep, piercing through my already fragile emotional state. I couldn't understand how someone who should be a pillar of support could become such a source of torment. As the days turned into weeks and the weeks into months, my mother-in-law's mistreatment escalated. She treated me less like a daughter-in-law and more like a servant. Every task I undertook was met with criticism and disdain. I became her scapegoat and outlet for her frustration and bitterness. Yet, amidst the chaos, I clung to the unwavering love I had for my husband. He needed me now more than ever, and I refused to allow my mother-in-law's toxic behavior to distract me from my purpose. While she berated and belittled, I focused on providing him with the care and comfort he required. By the time the doctor decided to discharge my husband, he reminded me that his medication should always be consistent. Yes, Doc, I will certainly take control of his medication as well as his financial needs. Upon responding to the doctor, my mother-in-law laughed so hard, who was standing and listening to us on the side. Really? You? Taking control of the finances? How awful of a liar are you? Oh, doctor, don't believe anything that girl says. She's the very reason why my son is here, because she forced him to work tirelessly while she stays at home doing nothing. That is not true. She just smirked at me and rolled her eyes. The doctor heaved a deep sigh and saw me struggling. He held my shoulders as a sign of comfort. I have known you for a long time, Mrs. Ria. I know you love your husband,
So please, no matter what, stay strong for him. He needs you right now.
I nodded in response. I tried to control myself, containing my emotions. I don't want to spark any argument right now. So later that day, we finally went home. As soon as we came home, I received a phone call from my father, Brandon. It feels so good to hear a familiar voice right now. It feels so comforting.
Hello, sweet pea, how are you?
I could feel my heart melting as I heard my father call me by his favorite nickname, Sweet Pea. I'm not fine. Dad, Kurt is in a...
I know everything. Larry, your father-in-law, called me last week.
I was so shocked to hear that information. He did? Why? For what reason?
Kurt's condition. He reached out if I could help with the finances.
But I don't want to bother you with it. I could work double in the family's company while taking care of him.
Ria, I'm your dad. Kurt is also my son. I know that you are struggling and don't want to see you like this. We have the means and resources to help. That's why I'm more than willing to give that to you and your husband.
I closed my eyes and tears fell down my cheek. Dad, please. We've talked about this before.
That they must never know that you are from a wealthy family? Sweet pea, Larry knows that all too well. He works in our company.
Yes, Dad, I know. But I don't want my mother-in-law or other people to know. I told you. I don't want to be defined by my family status. I want to build my own.
Sweet pea, please, let me do this. I'm more than ready and happy to help.
I heaved a sigh and just accepted his offer. Here's a confession. I happen to have grown up in a privileged family. My family has generational wealth and owns an online investment company in which I work that my mother-in-law labeled to be a lowly job. Ever since I was in high school, I tried my best not to let my status be known to everybody. I want to be a normal person earning on my own. During the entire duration of my husband's recovery at home, several therapy sessions were appointed for us, as well as several mistreatments from my mother-in-law. But I chose to keep my head and heart strong for my husband. On top of that, the assistance from my father is constant and it does help us a lot. And while taking care of my husband, aside from living with the pain of his condition, I chose to divert my attention to taking care of the house as well. Amidst the pain, a glimmer of hope emerged. I found solace in keeping our home clean and orderly, believing that a peaceful environment could offer some respite from the storm raging within our lives. So, with determination, I took on the role of both caregiver and housekeeper, dedicating myself to maintaining a sanctuary of serenity amidst the turmoil. But, good thing, I have Diana helping me, but even the most resilient among us have limits. One day, my buttons were pushed. After I tended to my husband from cooking his meals to washing his linens, I continued my work inside the house, diligently cleaning the kitchen. I was segregating the trash when my mother-in-law's frustration reached a breaking point. In an act of sheer frustration and anger, she lashed out as she entered the kitchen. She then grabbed the bag of garbage and hurled it in my direction. The filth splattered across me, an indignity that symbolized not only her contempt but also the immense weight I carried on my shoulders. She threw the garbage right in front of me. I was so shocked by her sudden rage. She pushed me to the ground and looked at me again angrily. "The Wi-Fi has been cut off. You told me that you were going to pay for it." I closed my eyes out of annoyance building inside me because of her pettiness. I cut short of the budget because the doctor added new maintenance meds for Kurt. "Then work more, find more jobs to sustain all the needs in the house." She pushed my head to the floor and screamed at me. She's insane. During the commotion, my father-in-law finally barged in, dragging my mother-in-law away from me.
Enough, Gemma!
He shouted at his wife, and she was dumbfounded and confused. What the hell are you doing?
Enough of your evilness. You're so abusive.
And what about it? She deserves all that anyway. After all, she did to our son.
What did she do? Do you know what she did? She did a lot of things. She tried to hide all your mistreatments towards her from her father.
She raised her eyebrows and looked at me from head to toe, judging me. And who is her father anyway? Isn't she an orphan? No one walked down the aisle with her during the wedding with our son. What a shame, stupid girl. Larry grabbed Gemma's arms and dragged her to face him.
That girl you call stupid is the daughter of Brandon Wilkins, an entrepreneur, my boss, the father-in-law of your son. And Brandon is the one sustaining and precious with everything, including your fucking Wi-Fi connection. So be grateful and beg for forgiveness.
She was so shocked by everything that she heard. Is that true? Her voice trembles as she looks at me with shame. Yes, and I think it's about time for my father to know everything. There is no need for that. I looked at where the voice came from, and it is Diana, holding her phone. Unbeknownst to her, the chaos had been captured on video by Diana. The recording found its way to my father, the one who had been shouldering the burden of my husband's medical expenses. When he witnessed the mistreatment I had endured, he was consumed by a fiery anger and protective instinct that only a father possesses. My father's love for me outweighed any obligations he felt towards his son-in-law's family. With swift and decisive action, he confronted my mother-in-law, exposing her cruel treatment and making it clear that her presence was no longer welcome in our lives. At that moment, she finally faced the consequences of her actions. As she pleaded for forgiveness, realizing the gravity of her mistakes, I stood strong, my heart torn between anger and pity. The power dynamic had shifted, and I found myself taking charge of our household once again. The doctors closed on her toxic influence, allowing us to breathe freely for the first time in years. But my newfound control didn't stop at the boundaries of our home. I assumed the role of my husband's advocate, fiercely guarding his well-being and ensuring he received the best possible care. I immersed myself in the intricate world of medications, treatments, and therapies, constantly seeking ways to alleviate his pain and provide comfort during his darkest moments. With unwavering determination, I emerged as the driving force behind his fight against cancer. I became the source of strength he needed, offering unwavering support and a shoulder to lean on. The journey was arduous, filled with countless sleepless nights and moments of doubt, but my love for him propelled me forward. I delved into the research, connecting with experts in the field, seeking second opinions and exploring alternative treatments. I left no stone unturned in my quest to ensure my husband's well-being. Every decision regarding his care was made with meticulous attention, as I became his voice when his own was weakened by illness. The days blended into a blur of hospital visits, consultations, and treatment regimens. I navigated the complexities of medical procedures, deciphering the jargon and advocating for my husband's needs. I became well versed in his condition, understanding the intricacies of his cancer and the potential paths to recovery. But My newfound control extended beyond the medical realm. I reclaimed authority over our lives, refusing to let external forces dictate our fate. I prioritized the well being of my husband above all else, filtering out negativity and toxicity that could hinder his progress. I forged ahead with unwavering determination, shielding him from unnecessary stress and drama. As time passed, I began to witness the fruits of my efforts. My husband's condition stabilized, his pain eased, and a glimmer of hope emerged. It was in those moments of respite that I saw the strength we had cultivated together. We had transformed from mere victims of circumstances into warriors, fighting against the odds with a united front. Through the darkest of times, our bond deepened. We found solace in each other's presence, drawing strength from the love we shared. Our connection became an anchor, grounding us in the face of adversity. Together we defied the odds and transcended the limitation that cancer tried to impose upon us. As the journey continued, my mother-in-law, once a dominating force in our lives, reached out in desperation. She begged for forgiveness, recognizing the gravity of her actions and the consequences they had brought upon her. But forgiveness wasn't mine to give. The wounds she inflicted ran deep, and the scars would forever serve as a reminder of her cruelty. I stood my ground, refusing to grant her access back into our lives. The power dynamics had shifted irreversibly. I had become the guardian of our home, our sanctuary, and the protector of my husband's well-being. The control that had been wrested away from me and was now firmly in my grasp, a testament to my resilience and unwavering determination. In the end, our story became one of triumph over adversity. We defied the odds, proving that love and resilience could conquer even the darkest of circumstances. Cancer may have tested our spirits, but it couldn't break our resolve. As I continue to navigate this journey, I do so with a newfound strength and purpose. I have reclaimed control over our lives, empowering myself to make decisions that best serve my husband's interests. Together, we march forward, defying the limitations imposed upon us and embracing the power of love, determination, and the unwavering belief that we had overcome any obstacle in our path.